with this crazy ass election, man.
Oh,
One of the
Jesus
things,
Christ.
you know, with Trump supporters, Hillary supporters, all this hate, you never know. Maybe World of Warcraft is the answer. Maybe World of Warcraft can make America great again. We could bring
That's,
all the anger
that's all you need.
together within WoW.
All the gamers gotta fucking write in when they go to vote World of Warcraft. That's the fucking thing. You're gonna be counting
Yeah,
up the
man.
ballots. Where the fuck is World of Warcraft?
Because just think, man, you go out and you probably have, Trump supporters playing WoW. You have Hillary supporters playing WoW. You might even have some Johnson and Jill Stein and all those people playing WoW. And they probably normally would hate each other. But all you got to do is just talk about something in World of Warcraft, and we could be cool.
We
And
can't.
until you say that you're a hoarder alliance, that we start killing each other again.
I was about to say, it'd be like, can't we all just get along in World of Warcraft?
That's exactly how it'd go down. It'd be like, I like Trump. Man, fuck you. I like Hillary. And then you're like, no, but I like WoW. And you're like, oh,
I like
man,
WoW
I
too.
like WoW too. That's cool. Oh, man, what server you on? Oh, man, Ultra Storms. Oh, for real? Shit, I'm on Ultra Storms too. Oh, man, that's great. Cool, man. We cool. Oh, man, you horde, right? Nah, man, I'm Alliance. Man, fuck you, man.
Got to tease your man. You got to please your man. Got to.
Back with a new show deep in the basement. Professionalism turned off, screw the ad placement. Skit comedy trolling, plate full of dough. People get offended, you don't get the show.
We're back with a new show. I'm Jay LaRock. We're with Randy. Hey, what's up?
What's up? What's up?
All right, man. So I like The Wire, and there's a character in there, Bubbles, man. I like Bubbles, man. He was a crackhead, and I remember when he was trying to get himself straight, and he had people around him always trying to get him back on the crack, man. And when you hang around with a lot of crackheads, they're always coming around, man. They're like, come on, man, try this crack. And you remember how good the crack was, man. It was so sweet, so tasty. And that was what's happening with WoW, man. They come around, they put the crack in your face, and they take it around to the crack dens. And even though those crack dens look terrible, you remember that sweet, sweet crack. And all of a sudden, you get a little taste because they tell you, man, this new crack is different. And next thing you know, you get a little taste of that crack, and you're in that den, and that's what happened with
Before
WoW.
you know it, you're sucking dick.
Yeah, you got some cheeseburgers. You don't know where these cheeseburgers came from, and you're giving it out. What has happened to me, man? I mean, I'm busy with school and with work and all this stuff, and now I'm playing WoW, and people said it's good, and now I'm saying it's good, and now I'm trying to convert other people. It's like a cult. I mean, what's going on, man? What have you guys done to me?
First of all, you're welcome. This is from the I don't know what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in a row of me talking about World of Warcraft. You're like, that crack sounds good. I think I should try that again. There you go.
All right.
I will say this though. I honestly, because I had so many high level characters, and by the way, I've already leveled 2 to 110. I'm working on number 3, which is crazy. But I actually I've pretty much have played every single class in the game. I think there's only 2 classes I really hadn't played. Shaman was one of them, and a monk was the other one. Like, I created my Kung Fu Panda and played for a bit, and I'm like, all right, whatever. And then I just sat him on the back shelf and the hell with it. But like, seriously, I was questing in one of the new areas, and I'm getting ready to go into this like hut where there's just one mob, and I'm playing as my shadow priest, and I'm getting ready to freaking attack this thing, and literally a monk drops down, runs in the room, and you're talking a freaking mob that had like almost 1 million health, and this motherfucker did that freaking earth, wind, and fire spell that they have that it splits you into 3, did 2 attacks and killed the fucking mob in like 2 seconds. And I'm like, fuck, dude, I gotta sit there and try the monk again because I don't remember them being that cool. And man, I like wholeheartedly forgot how cool every single zone looked like after Cataclysm, where they like completely changed around the world. And I forgot how like shit changed compared to like vanilla. But on top of that, man, I forgot how quickly you can go through the old content if you have heirloom gear. I shit you not, I made my monk, human monk, got a full set of heirloom gears like the armor stuff and the weapons. And last night, I'm literally half a level away from 58, which means I can go into the Burning Crusade stuff. And I'm like, you know what? How long have I been playing this monk? Dude, I hit slash played literally 15 and a half hours. 15 and a half hours to go from fucking 1 to level 57 and a half. And I'm like, sweet Jesus, it goes by so fast.
So as you could probably guess, disinfection has spread to You Don't Get the Show. And this is going to be a World of Warcraft show, but it's not just going to be talking about World of Warcraft like this is like some World of Warcraft only show. Like this is going to be going through levels and how to level and all that, because any show can do that.
That's on the agenda for next week. No, I'm like
I want to talk about a little bit. I mean, there's things in the game I'll talk about, obviously, but I'm curious because I have different people that's in different guilds and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting when I start playing. I don't have time for guilds and stuff like that. At least not where they're doing end game stuff. Like I can't change my schedule to do that. And it's interesting because just jumping into different, Ventrilo, TeamSpeak, whatever, and listening to people talk, it's interesting when I hear people talk about the differences in how times have changed. And I always think that's an interesting topic, because you'll hear people say, there's a discussion where they were saying, oh, well, we can't structure this guild the same way as it was 5 years ago because people have retired from that type of gameplay. And it's interesting because some of these people, it's not like you're talking about some people who are like, college kids or even in their 20s or early 30s. These people are also with kids, with careers, and they're saying, hey, I still want to play like this, or I've structured my life where I can play like this, but I realize that these other people can't. And they're trying to tailor this guild to be able to maybe put together a 10-man of these people who can play hardcore, but also balance these people who are like, hey, man, I got like an hour or two because the wife, the husband, the kid is saying, this ain't happening. And it's kind of interesting. I'm just wondering, have you seen that dynamic like with your friends, your guild, where it's like some people are like, hey, yeah, I can still throw in 4 or 5 hours because I got like that. But these other people are like, nah, man, I got an hour. And I mean 60 minutes and I'm out.
That's like an interesting thing about the game. So I honestly think like I've seen that, remember playing it from like the vanilla days, like at the tail end of Burning Crusade and all that. I mean, hell, if you sit there and you think about it, we didn't really get into like the really big, like, oh, you had to really sit down with a big group and like go, till really Lich King was the one that really like started toning down how long the raids were, because like you sit there and you look at like vanilla, you had the fucking 40-man Onyxia shit that you had to sit there for fucking hours to get, through that shit, but like I'm noticing now, like this game has done a really good job. Not only do they still have like, hey, I'm a hardcore person, I want to sit down for like 12 hours straight and just raid, they still have that experience for people, but at the same time you have like, hey, I don't have a guild, or I only have an hour to play. They came out with that LFR, the looking for raid thing, that you can jump in and start raiding and it tracks your progress. And let's say you get 2 raid bosses down and you're like, all right, I'm out, and you bump out. You have a week where you can go back and queue back up for LFR, and it says like, oh, you've already beaten the first 2 bosses, and it groups you up with people that have eliminated the first 2 bosses, and then you keep going. So you can jump in and out now with no problems. And I think like that was the big thing that like WoW started to see, that, you had these people who were like, wow, people can't play as long as they used to, back in vanilla.
Yeah, you get the rolling pin upside the head, man. You can't do that no more.
Well, that's the shit. It's like, you have these people that 10 years ago were like, oh, I can fucking sit here all freaking day. Blah, blah. And now it's like, oh, I'm married. I got kids and shit. I got a career I got to worry about. Now they still want to play it, but they don't have the time to dedicate to it. So they just like cut that down and said, all right, we got something for you. And it's interesting because like the guild I'm in, they're like the guild I originally was in when I played back in the day. Like they're still in the game and playing. And it's still like the same thing where they have like the one hardcore raiding group that just goes, and they will say like, all right, 7 p.m. on Thursdays, we're logging in and we're playing till like midnight. And they'll like just hit up the raid and just go through it and go through it and go through it. And then, all right, Thursday, we're going to go 7 p.m. We're going to do the heroic mode. And they freaking dive in there and start. And it's like, I ain't got time for this shit. Like, I'm gonna pull the Sergeant Murtaugh shit of like, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Have you seen some people who are like, WoW's pretty old now. Have you logged on and seen some people you just haven't been in contact with because you didn't really know them, you just knew them in game, and like years later, they're like in the same spot, and you log on, you're like, hey, what you doing? Man, I'm in the same spot. I'm doing the same shit I was doing 10 years ago, and you're like, oh. It's like going to a class reunion and the guy was working at the gas station 10 years ago and he's still working at the gas station and you're like, oh, well, nice to see you, dude. Well, I guess I got to go.
I haven't seen something that extreme yet, but it'd be funny. I'm sure there's somebody out there like, I'm still grinding away at these goddamn dragons.
I never left the game. Where have you been? I've been waiting for you.
But it's hilarious because like I've started subscribing in YouTube to some of like the guys that'll do some of these like World of Warcraft like videos, and they talk about how like now that they've been going through and getting the gear from the raids from this expansion pack, they're like, let's see how far we can go in the old game content. I shit you not, there was a dude that got 850 gear from the heroic, I think it is, the heroic dungeons, and said, yeah, I'm going to jump into the old Warlords of Draenor raids just to see what I could do, just for shits and giggles. And there was, out of the 3 raids, one of them he was able to clear by himself as a hunter, not even a tanking class, a hunter. Blew through the raid like no problem. The second one he got through and only, like, he was able to beat it, but there was only like 1 or 2 bosses that he couldn't beat. And it was just because of the mechanics of the boss. And I think in the Draenor, there's one where it's like you're fighting these 2 like really big ogres. And during the fight, the ogre, like one of the 2 ogres would randomly pick one person out of the raid group and then pick them up and hold them in the air and kind of swing them around while doing damage to them. So they're essentially out of the fight. And then when he puts that person down, the other ogre goes and then picks up a different person and does the same thing. And what he found out was he started fighting him, and then the first one would pick him up. And he's like, all right, I just got to wait. And then as soon as he would put him down, the other one would come and pick him back up. So he's like, it literally turned into a fight where I couldn't do anything. And the only DPS was my pet just scratching away at the guys. He's like, which was nothing for DPS. And eventually he died because you can't heal yourself while you're grabbed in there. But it was like, and I think the 3rd raid was the one where he couldn't beat 2 of the bosses. And he was just like, oh, it's like, I'm putting out DPS, but not enough to take him down. And I can't like, heal quick enough to like drop him before I do it. But he was like, I'm pretty sure if I gear up and get some more of the, like the higher level mythic gear, he might be able to do it. But it's like insane when you sit there and think about it. It's like, dude, this guy's just doing heroic dungeons in this, and he's freaking already clearing out last expansion's raids like nothing.
I admit one of the things that I found myself doing that I really didn't do that much of. I mean, Draenor kind of introduced it, and I really liked the idea from EverQuest 2. Like EverQuest 2 had the little sparkles on the ground where you would get these collection quests, and you would find like leaves and various things, and you could put them together, and it would give you like experience, and it would give you items and things like that. And I love the idea of in this expansion with Legion where you can get the artifacts and you can find toys and you can find different things in the chests and by fighting the bosses. And of course with like add-ons, you really can find all the stuff, the chest and
Everything.
things. It's really awesome. And what I found myself doing is I'd be running around doing my quests, and then I'd be like, hey, there's a chest over there. Let me really explore to try and get all the chests. Let me explore to try and get all the the special bosses. And that's something that you really didn't have in the old days. There'd be so much content that's just there. Like you'd have a whole section, and you're like, if I don't have a quest over there, there's no reason to go over there. So it's like you'd only go this one little spot, and that's it. And you really end up opening up much more of the world because you want to get those artifacts, you want to get those toys, you want to explore. And I really found that that makes the world much bigger and you spend more time. Now, some people are still going to blow through it because maybe they don't care, or maybe they'll come back later or whatever.
Mm.
But just having treasure chests, things like that, I think is just a little extra candy in the game that makes it better.
Yeah, and I mean they learned with like it's funny, like as you see each expansion pack coming out, like you can see how they've learned a little more each time, and they've evolved it like each time. So like you have, if you think of like in Draenor also, they had the garrison quests, which I remember that you would get a fuck ton of followers. So it was like to a point where you'd have like 8 quests to do, and you would just send everybody out to do it because it's like you had so many followers. Here, I think you can only get 5, I think you find, and you get them from quests. And it's interesting because my first 2 110s, my Hunter and my Demon Hunter, I haven't found the side quests to start the second 2 followers. So I only have the original 2 followers that you get in your class hall. My Shadow Priest, I actually was just going around and I ended up seeing this this one guy off on the side, and I started the quest, and I was like, oh, I don't remember doing this quest with my Hunter, and then like I did the quest line, and it ended up being those 2, you find one guy and they're like, oh, you have to go and rescue this other my partner and blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, okay, and I went and rescued the partner, and then I went back and they're like, oh, hey, we were doing this, go take this to these like the demon hunters, and then I did it, and I came back, and it ended up being that those 2 were my second, my third and fourth follower. So my Shadow Priest, I have 4 followers plus I can recruit those guys, so I can actually like send out multiple people. And I like the fact that it's not like, oh, let me grind away till I have like 300 followers in my class hall to do all these quests. And in reality, I now, like, the other really huge thing that they did for this expansion that they fucking killed it with is the Legion app for the iOS device. And because I will literally like wake up in the morning, I'll go in, I'll collect see if I finished the mission, collect the artifact thing, and then send out my followers onto another quest. And I can do that for all 3 of my tunes, and then check back in 4 hours, like on the middle of work while I'm on lunch. I can go, oh, look, they're done. Boop, 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 send them on another one. By the time I get home, I already have two of those artifact power-up things sitting in my bag waiting for me to just power them up 300 points just like that. And I think that's a great thing that they did.
Now, I do have some beef because I have a Horde character with my priest, and then I have some of my original characters which were Alliance, because when I first started way back in vanilla, I had most of my friends were all Alliance. So I still have mostly Alliance characters, and they're on a PvP server. Back when people actually PvP normally. So for those of you that don't know, let me educate you on what PvP used to be. PvP, you would actually fight people at least semi around your level. And it's not that you always want exactly even battles. We know that that's not going to always be possible. But normally it was within a certain range. And if not, here's what would happen. You could at least call for reinforcement, either from people you know, or in the battle channel, or in the realm channel for, like, wherever area you're at, and people would come, and the defense channel, people would come and help you. Or even just people running around, they'd see, hey, there's Horde attacking Alliance, let me help. That doesn't happen anymore. Like, people just walk by. Some people even laugh at you while you're getting attacked, which is like, okay, what's the point? Which has just made PvP servers pretty useless in world PvP. On top of that, now that you have the blending of these servers with the shards and everything, what's happened is that everyone's gotten scared and joined Horde. Like people say Horde's better or whatever, fine, whatever. People want to do, oh, Horde's better, Alliance, whatever. That's cool. But what's happened is a lot of these servers, Alliance have gotten so scared about getting ganked by Horde on these PvP servers that they ended up switching over and joining Horde. So on these PvP servers, most of the time, you end up with like 90 to 10 Horde. So like on my server, I'm going around and I'm like, every time I land at a flight point, it's like 30 Horde. Like every flight point, I'm landing. You know what it looks like? It looks like Starbucks when they have like happy hour. Like you drive by, there's like 80 people surrounding the area. I'm like, and I'll admit, most of the time people are like just leveling because you don't want to start fighting around while you're trying to level because things can pop off, especially with DPS classes. The last thing you want is you kill me. I want to come back and wait till you're fighting a boss too, and you're low on energy. I want to kill you back, and that's just not fun for anybody. But of course, if it's 10 of them, because I know that's nothing about this Horde, they're running around doing quests in groups of 10, which to me is just terrible. Like, I hate doing quests with 10 people. Like, that's no fun. But there's so many of the Horde on the PvP server, they're doing it in groups of 10. So when I go around, there's going to inevitably be a fight because they're like, hey, look, there's one Alliance guy, there's 10 of us. It's like when you have a gang and all the gang members that know how to fight are like, I have no reason to fight. I know how to fight. There's going to be that one asshole who can't fight, and he's like, hey, Joe, let me start a fight because I got all my boys with me. And he's going to be the one starting the fight. And it's like, so
that motherfucker goes up.
That's my beef.
That's the one dude that goes up and goes, surprise, motherfucker! Boom! Just punch him in the face and run away.
Yeah, then he runs back to his boys and like, boys, protect me! And then his boys are like,
God damn it.
He's in our gang, so we gotta protect him. And then they all have to jump, and you're like, damn it. You know? So, I mean, that's what I'm hating about PvP servers, you know? It's getting on my nerves here.
That is the fucking Chappelle show. Charlie Murphy! He just punches him in the head. The Rick James stories. Yeah, like, I remember back in the day when I really, like, started played Vanilla WoW, where initially I started playing with friends of mine that they were Alliance, so I joined Alliance and started playing. I really enjoyed it. And then I got Roger into World of Warcraft. And he was like, oh, yeah, blah, 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 we're going to play Horde. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool to, like, start off on Horde and just see. And, like, you know, who knows? Maybe I like Horde better and I'll just play Horde. And I remember, I'm like, oh, what server you are? And I can't even remember the name of the server. But right away I look, I'm like, oh, you're in a PvP server? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that shit. And he was like, no, man, if you're going to play, might as well, like, get into it, you know? Like, hey, you're having this war against the humans and da-da-da, and you ought to be able to get attacked and all that. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So started up my little Horde character, and I started leveling up, and I went through it, and I hit around level 20 around there. I was playing as a troll rogue, and I remember the area I was in to do my level 20 quest. I'm like, this fucking place is familiar. And I'm like, wait a minute. I remember I was here when I was on my Alliance who was level 40. So I was like, oh, shit. And I'm like, oh, well, who knows? Maybe on the PvP side, like, they won't let him. No, I'm fucking sitting there, and all of a sudden I see this one fucking Alliance guy just off in the distance, and he's sitting there. And I'm like, oh, here we go. He's going to start some shit. And I, like, highlight him, and I see he's level 40. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm level 20. And I'm like, well, he's level 40. I'm level 20. He's probably not even going to waste his time with me, you know? So I'm sitting there, and I'm going. And I start attacking one of the mobs that I'm fighting. And I'm attacking him. He's still staying way out there and this and that. And I'm like, all right. And I'm attacking him. And I kind of turn the camera a bit. And I'm fighting. And then when I turn the camera back, I realize, oh, he's a little bit closer. And I'm like, all right. So, like, next mob, I start attacking. I kind of turn the camera away. And I'm attack. And I turn back. And I realize, oh, he's getting even closer. And I'm like, I wonder. Yeah, so I'm like, I don't know what the hell this guy is doing, if he's just, like, seeing if I'm going to, like, attack somebody or what. And then next thing I know, he comes running up, like I'm in between and I'm sitting down and I'm eating. He comes like running up, and I'm like, okay. And he kind of waves, and I wave back. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's not going to do anything. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Dude, I stand up, I turn and run over to the first mob. I literally like do my double strike, boop, into him. Next thing I know, out of right behind me, here comes this motherfucker up behind me, and just boom, 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 like 3 shots me and kills me. And I'm like, son of a bitch. And I'm like, well, I guess the whole like waving was like, hey, I'm gonna kick your ass. What's the name? Hi, how you doing? So of course, what ends up happening? I come back in my spirit form. I'm running, and what do I see? His ass is sitting right next to my corpse. And I'm like, okay. So I basically reach the farthest as I can to resurrect. I resurrect, this motherfucker just dives at me and kills me again. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, is this going to be this fucking thing? So literally, I'm rezzing and he's killing, rezzing and killing. So he's just like griefing me as much as he can. And I'm like, and at that point, I'm like, man, this is fucking so stupid. So what do I end up doing? I end up freaking rezzing near these like tents that were nearby. And as soon as I res, I freaking go stealth and I start walking around the tents. And I'm like doing figure eights and shit around the things until I finally step into one of the tents and I'm sitting inside, completely stealth. And I can hear him, when I have my headphones, I can hear him walking around the tents looking for me. And I know he had an idea where I was, but he didn't know where I was because I could tell he was getting close enough that I would appear. And then he would walk away and it would do that sound effect of the ooh when you would like cloak. So it's hilarious because I'm listening to him walking around, stop for a bit. And I'm like, I wonder if he walked away, and then walking around like he was just waiting to see if I'd come out of my hiding spot, And like I literally was sitting there for 20 minutes until finally I just heard him walk off, and I still waited a bit and then came out and kind of like looked around a bit and did one of these. Like I'm like, all right, he's gone. And bro, literally like I played a little bit more. I finished the quest there. I backed out and went to my hometown. I logged out and I never came back to that server. I'm like, fuck this, dude. I'm like, if I want to play this game, I want to level up. I don't want to be fucking sitting there for, playing for 2 hours to do something that in a PvE server I can do in 20 minutes, And then it was like funny because, of course, Roger, he kept leveling up because he would play way late into the night when there was like nobody around in those areas. So he would just level his character up. And he was like, oh, but when you get higher level, it's so much fun. And he's like, you go into their starting areas and fuck with them. And I'm like, yeah, but Roger, I'm like, it's like to get to that point. It's like, oh, let me get kicked in the dick like 20 times now, and then I'll be able to do it in like 6 months.
And then I'm kicking people in the dick who didn't kick me in the dick.
Yeah, so it was like that was my only experience with PvP. But I have like logged into a PvP server, and yeah, like if you look at the statistics of like the volume per server, still the breakdown on a lot of servers is like PvP shit. It's like heavy horde. And they were like, oh, well, doing this shit where we share all the realms together, it'll fix it. No, it hasn't. Because you're still sharing all these realms that have like all these, it's still like stacked.
And there's, like I said, people got scared because, they were getting ganked by Horde, and then they got upset because they were getting ganked by Horde, so they switched to Horde, and now it's like, And I mean, I'm not going to switch to Horde, not on my Alliance tunes, and it's like, you deal with it. But
it's funny because like yesterday I'm playing on a PvE server and there's these horde characters that got a pair of balls on them. They were fucking attacking Stormwind and they were just tearing through the Dwarven district, just like walking through, killing as many NPCs as they could. And then like actual players started coming and fighting and they're killing the players too. I was like, oh shit.
So
with you going down,
with you coming back, have you noticed any like old bad habits come back? Because I noticed. See, this is what happens when you start, getting on the crack. Because when you become a crack addict, you start doing things. You start stealing from your friends. You start doing stuff like.
Oh shit! Phone call.
Yeah. You forget to mute your phone. You start doing that too. You start getting when you get on the crack. You start stealing from your friends, you're digging in the garbage can, you're sucking people off in alleyways, things like that. So I noticed that already. What's happened in World of Warcraft is that when people call me up or message me while I'm playing, I like completely ignore them. It's like I don't even give them like a message back. If I'm like playing WoW, it's like nothing. Like maybe if it bounces up on my second screen, I'll like quickly be like, wow. That's all I give them. It's just wow. And then the response, especially from people who know back in the day, the response back will be like, "You're on that again? I thought you quit for the last time." And it's like, and then you kind of hang your head a little bit. You're like, "No, I'm playing."
You kind of hang your head in shame, just like, what have I become?
And the worst part is like I've been eating a lot better, and I vow not to go back. And it's like I was playing the other day, and I was like, man, I should order a pizza. I'm like, no,
No,
no, I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna cook my healthy meal because I'm not going back to those days. And I actually did, but it's like I wanted to fucking order a bad meal. I mean, did any of these start to like creep back into your life?
So my thing is like it hasn't, but it's like funny because like the one thing that I laugh at, so I like literally I'm about 3 days away from my freaking knee surgery, so like for the past like 3 weeks I've like no alcohol, like I just want to like get myself as good as I can before I go under the knife, because I'm like I just want to go in and out, just be good. I'm like I can become a drunk gamer once I come back and all that and I get better. But like I remember, like I still to this day, like if I'm playing, whether it was a WoW or whatever, like if I knew I was off the next day, like I'd come home from work, I'd have a couple beers and start playing and all that. And the one thing that this happened to me while I used to play WoW, and I said never again. And it was one night where I was off the next day, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get drunk. I'm gonna play WoW, and that's it. I'm gonna stay awake to like literally like fall asleep at the keyboard. And I like got home, and I forgot I got home really early from work that day. And normally I would wait till like 8, 9 o'clock to start drinking, because that way the booze would keep me awake till like 2, And I got home probably like 5 o'clock, and I'm like, all right. I'm like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to play. And I remember I started drinking at like 5 o'clock. By about 7, 8 o'clock, I was already at that point of like where I normally would be around midnight to 1, where I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm like, da. And I'm like, woo, I'm pretty good buzz going on. And I'm like, all of a sudden looking, I'm like, oh shit, it's 7:30 at night. And I'm like, I got all night. And I did the fucked up thing of I kept drinking and playing. And when I tell you, as the old Jeff Foxworthy joke was, that if you've ever been too drunk to fish, you're a redneck. I was too drunk where I could not play World of Warcraft. And mind you, you just hit buttons, like you click and button. Dude, I was so messed up. My reaction time was so slow, I could not play. I was sitting there like, okay, I gotta attack this boss with 3, and it's like, click, and I'm like, holy crap. And in my mind, my mind was clear enough that I was like, I need to hit this skill, I need to hit this skill, I need to hit this skill. But the message going down to my finger, I don't know what type of fucking back alleys that shit took to get to my fingertips, but man, it was getting there slow as hell.
You had like buffering issues. It's like
yeah, I was like, holy crap. And we literally we didn't even get to the first boss. Like we were killing trash as we're working our way through this dungeon. And I'm on TeamSpeak, and I'm like, guys, I need to log off. I am too drunk to play World of Warcraft. And everybody was just like, holy shit, dude. They're like, since what time have you been drinking? I'm like, 5 o'clock. And they're like, dude, it's 12, it's midnight. And I'm like, yeah. But I was like, never again.
It's bad when he's going to start having the World of Warcraft dreams.
Oh, God. Dude, it was just so funny because I was just like, I wanted to play so bad because I'm like, yeah, let's run this dungeon. I want to see this new dungeon. And I'm like, I can't play this game. Oh, my God.
It's wake funny. Up, roll out of bed directly into your office chair, and you start playing.
It's funny because since I've kind of been playing this more, I've liked Overwatch since it came out day one, and I played that a lot. And then I just realized the more I would play, like if I had a really stressful day, I could not play Overwatch because I would just get even more upset, and I could feel like my blood pressure just rising because of the dumb shit people would do in that game. And now I'm like, oh, I could relax. I could play a bit of WoW and this and that. It's cool. I don't have to get frustrated. And it's like I have my friends that are still playing, like, hey, let's play Overwatch. I'm like, no, it's been a rough day. I'm not gonna get into that. I'm like, I don't want to get put on the anti-Korean team and we get steamrolled by freaking by these professional gamers and shit. Although I will say this, the Halloween event that they got going on for Overwatch, holy shit, is that thing fun, and holy shit, is that thing hard as hell, even on medium. Like, me and my friends have not been able to beat it on medium. We've gotten very close. Like, we got to the last battle, but holy crap, that thing is hard. I can't even imagine what it must be like on hard.
Man, I all I know is that I've woken up and I've sat down and I started playing WoW, and I was like, I need to go take a shower, and then I was like, hey, I haven't got my rogue past the beginning of the new world yet, and then I started doing that, and I'm like, and then I was looking at myself in the reflection of my other monitor, and I'm like, I'm turning back into younger me again, and it just felt bad, and at the same time, it still felt good.
Yeah, that's that you looked at yourself in the freaking reflection. Your reflection just looked back at you like that disappointed father, just like didn't say a word, just like.
At the same time, it's like I said. The great thing about being a gamer is that as you get older, you realize that you're not gonna really miss the old things that you did when you was young because you can still do it.
Yeah.
You know, because like I said, if you were a mountain climber or something, as you get older, you're like, man, I can't climb those mountains like I used to and things like that. Yeah, as you get older, yeah, you may not have the twitch reflexes as you did when you were in your 20s, but you can still play. As long as you don't like go completely blind and lose your hands, you know, you could still play. There's people who are 70 playing WoW. I was talking to a guy the other day. He's like, oh, I play from a retirement home. And I'm like, damn right. That's going to be me, the old-ass motherfucker. It's going to be like, hey, take your pills. And I'm going to be like, shut up. Bring my pills to my damn desk.
I will put it to you this way. And this is one of the greatest, funniest, and almost saddest kind of World of Warcraft type of things that I can say. So way back in the day, Roger and I bowled in a league, and I was on a team, you know, with this guy, and one of the guys that was on our team, he worked with me at the knock that I worked at, and he was probably late 40s, probably early to mid 50s and stuff, and we used to bowl and all that. We chit chat and blah blah blah, and I'll never forget the night that Wrath of the Lich King came out. I had it pre-ordered at a GameStop right by my house. And I'm like, oh, cool, blah, blah, blah. It's releasing tonight. Like, I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go pick it up, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as I log in and, like, to get home tonight, I'm staying up late tonight because I want to, like, get it going. Yo, I go and I get in line. I'm standing in line. I'm chatting with people there and this and that and blah, blah, blah. We're talking. And all of a sudden, like I hear as more people are coming on, people are talking. And I'm like, yeah, that fucking voice sounds familiar. I turned the fuck around. Here is my bowling teammate, 50-something-year-old guy, in line, and I'm like, oh, he's probably getting it for, like, you know, his kid or his nephew. And I'm like, oh, what are you here for? Like, to get something? He's like, yeah, I'm here for the World of Warcraft expansion. And I'm like, for who? And he's like, for me. And I'm like, wait, you play World of Warcraft? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was one of those, like, it took me, it just, like, made it so surreal of, like, the vastness of how many different people played World of Warcraft. I was like, I never would have thought you played. He's, oh yeah, I have, like, this is what, when Wrath came out, it was level 70 was the cap or something? Was it, I think? Yeah, 70 was the cap. Yeah. So he was like, oh yeah, I already have like 4 level 60s ready to go into the content.
Shit.
And I'm like, are you effing kidding me? I'm like, dude, I have 2. He's like, yeah, I have 4. He's like, my 5th one's, he's like, I heard supposedly at 58 you can go in. He's like, my 5th character's already at 58. I'm waiting for them to go in. And I'm like, who are you? And like it was
He
like
plays it like a professional.
yeah, I was like, what the hell? He's, oh yeah, he's like, I got a tank, I got a healer, I got a DPS, and this and that, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, who are you again? Like it was just like so crazily surreal, and like it just made you real. Like just standing in that line, you would see freaking from young kids to a 50-something-year-old guy all playing World of Warcraft, and it's like it's amazing to think of like how the stuff was before, and like seeing where it is now, and just how much it's changed. But it's like I tell people, it is like that old vintage T-shirt that you have that you thought you lost, and you found it in the way back of your closet, and you put it on, and you're like, yeah, this shit's comfortable as hell. Like that's what World of Warcraft feels like. You know, it's like, oh, it's an old T-shirt that you have, but it feels new because, oh, I haven't worn this in forever, and it feels comfortable when you get into it. That is literally the best analogy that I could put for World of Warcraft of how
It may
feels.
smell a little bad, but it fits.
Yeah.
It's comfortable, and it's mine.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like, and the thing that's a killer about this, and this is really funny because you'll find this like in your situation where you came back. So I have a friend of mine. You remember Woody from Red Eye, okay, Mr. Pimp with the Limp. So we have a friend of ours that we used to play like Heroes of the Storm, a whole bunch of stuff, and we all played like Knights of the Old Republic. We played a whole bunch of different MMOs, and he liked all of them. And we kept telling him for years, you should play World of Warcraft. And he would sit there and say, nah, I'm good. And we're like, okay. So after Legion came out that I started really playing it, he's like, I can't believe you're playing that. I'm like, dude, seriously, why don't you try World of Warcraft? Like, why? And he sat there and he told me, he's like, because I know how I am, and I'm going to get so into that game that I'm going to be that guy that's going to sit there and play for really long hours, like not go to work, because I'm going to want to get the best gear. And I know that I can't do that. And I sat there and I looked at it and I said, you know what? That's a bullshit excuse. And he's like, why do you say that? I said, because you could do the same thing in Knights of the Old Republic and all these other MMOs, but you're not doing it. So what makes you think World of Warcraft will make you do that? And he couldn't answer the question. And then Wood, me and him were talking, and he was telling him, dude, you need to try World of Warcraft, even if just for 30 days, just so you can say you tried it and whether you liked it or you didn't. If you like it, cool. If you don't, even better. But he sat there and he said, like, Wood told him, he's like, if you sit there and you think about it, you have played every other mediocre replicant of this phenomenal game, and you've liked those. Just think like what it's going to be like. You should avoid, there's little things here and there that he wouldn't like about it, and he would complain about it, and we would always say the same thing. WoW doesn't have that. And it's like, it's this craziness where we were like, you should like stop complaining about the ones you're playing and play this one just so you can see it, and then you'll understand like the comparisons that you're making, like why we would say certain things about the games, like, oh, it's good, but it's missing this or it's missing that from World of Warcraft. And he never got that reference because he didn't understand. And it was so funny because, like, I have a feeling if he plays it, like, because I sat there and I told him, I said, dude, you can do exactly what I do. I love playing the expansions that come out in World of Warcraft. I will play. I will gear my guy to go on the raid. I will do the raid one time till I go through it and then not play anymore. I'm not going to grind out gear. Why? Because the next expansion that they release for World of Warcraft, all you're literally going to do in the first half hour that you're playing is you're going to do a whole bunch of quests, and you're going to replace this entire group of epic gear that you spent months and months grinding for in 10 minutes. There's no sense to do that. Now, if that is your thing, do it. That you're more than, I mean, it's there's people that have been grinding away at the mythic level 10 shit to do it just to say that they did it. And if people want to do that, cool for you. But me, I'll play through for the story, and I will say this, like the shit that I've seen in the cutscenes that they've set up, that's supposedly coming in future content, holy shit, this thing is getting crazy. And the one thing right now, considering I'm rambling on for like ever, I can see it in your eyes. You're like, God damn it, finish up. No, the fact that I love that also World of Warcraft, they've, with these expansions that they've been coming out, they've been re-releasing old raids, like buffing it up for the new high level. And the fact that Karazhan's coming out, that it was the one raid that I really didn't get a chance to do because I came in just as that was fading out for Wrath of the Lich King. So I'm looking forward to that.
I have to say that the cutscenes have been awesome. Like even in between, like the little cutscene that you get with the quests, just little changes like that have made it awesome. So,
dude, the freaking the whole when you play through the it's Ashara, is it, with the druids and all that shit? The way that thing ends, I was just like, oh shit! Like it left me like, damn, that's fucked up. You know.
Well, as you can see, we've all been taken over, but even so,
let's go.
We're gonna be back. We're gonna be back with our regular show, which is gonna bring you, the crazy side of gaming with more stories and stuff. And there'll be some WoW stories and stuff thrown in there. But
we love y'all. We love y'all. But damn it, let's go. The veins getting dry. We gotta get back.
True. It's true. But I had to come clean and let y'all know that the damn game got me. So I'm in here and it's got me. But
you're gonna have to put in a sound clip of freaking Dave Chappelle going, "Gotcha, bitch."
Yeah, seriously, because it's got me. But now we gotta go play. So we gotta get the fuck out of here.
Back to the game. Let's go. I gotta hit Burning Crusade content with the monk tonight. Let's go. I gotta do this.
For sure. But we'll be back with another show. Until next time, I'm J.A. He's Randy. We'll catch y'all later. So until then, peace out.
Peace.